So Steve Kellum's Grant County Jail raped this 18-year-old kid for speeding. He was driving real fast, and they put him in jail. And so Steve Kellum, along with Clinton Sean Sidner, Sean Freeman, Wesley Lanham, they all conspired, collaborated, and threw him into the pen full of felons who raped the fuck out of him. They called him, "Hey, come here, little girlfriend. Happy Valentine's Day to us," because it was 2003. February 13th was the speeding. February 14th would be the night that he would have been in Grant County Prison. So I ended it off. I read this article, nearly the whole thing, and we'll finish it all. I had ended it off with the matter is being tried in federal court as a civil rights matter rather than locally as it should, because a state grand jury refused to indict any of the guards who were on duty the night of the gang rape. So this shows you how, you know, the public officials, they coalesce around each other, they protect their buddies, they protect their friends. There's nepotism going on. But the grand jury, this is really significant because there's these charges, which are serious charges, right? They're being gang raped. Everybody's gang raping, you know, this poor 18-year-old kid. But in, I guess it'd be Grant County. I'm not sure where the Kentucky grand jury was at, so I would assume it's Grant County. That's where he was put in jail, so that's where I would assume the criminal justice was being handed out there. You know, but a lot of times these small counties, you know, you never know with them. But in Louisville, you know, you got a grand jury, and what the grand jury is, it sounds like it's, you know, the grand jury. So if the grand jury indicts you, then oh my God. But really, the grand jury is, you know, the grand jury. There's only 12 folks or so that's chosen to do it year round, and their job is to indict somebody for trial. So if they think that there's enough. And it's for felonies, right? It's for serious crimes. So a serious complaint or crime goes to the grand jury, and then the grand jury decides whether or not it should proceed and go to court. So being indicted by the grand jury doesn't mean it implies guilt or not guilt. All it says is that there's enough evidence. In fact, the way I was told, it was saying all you need to do is establish some sort of probable cause that a crime had happened. Is there a probable cause that a crime had happened? Yeah, you have a witness, right, that's saying that it happened, right? So that's one thing. And it's a serious allegation to check it out, especially since it happened, you know. Another thing about the grand juries in Kentucky that I want to talk about is the prosecutors have an undue amount of influence. So I would like to know actually who the prosecutor was during this whole the entire time Steve Kellum was there. Steve Kellum, you know, this is a brand new jail just created in 2000, and in 2003 they're raping the shit out of him. And this wasn't the only incident that this had happened. So I would like to know who the prosecutor is, because a prosecutor, same thing with here in Louisville, Jefferson County, they're not supposed to, you know, lead or sway one way or another. They're not trying to get a conviction. They're not trying to get an indictment. They're just presenting it to the grand jury. Here are the facts of the case. Here's, you know, here's what one's saying. Here's what another is saying. They could call witnesses, and you could talk to them. Then the grand jury decides whether or not there's evidence or not. Now, a prosecutor, especially an ambitious or an overzealous one, they want to get convictions under their belt, and they also want to protect their criminal cop friends and their criminal judge friends and criminal politician friends. So they'll influence. They'll get in there and they'll say, well, you know, you did this and you did that, and you know, I found something else out about you, and you know, ask the person hard questions, and then, you know, if they want to get, I feel like the grand jury, if a prosecutor wants a grand jury to indict somebody, they will. If the prosecutor does not want to, and they influence it, and it's behind closed doors, nobody's allowed to watch these proceedings and see what's going on. They do record it, though. Everything's recorded. And the prosecutor a lot of times has way too much influence when it comes to the grand jury. The grand jury is citizens. A group of citizens get together, determine the facts and the nature of the case, and see if there's enough justification to proceed for a jury trial. And so there's two juries, right? There's the grand jury, they indict you, and then you'll have your criminal trial. Then you'll have, like, you know, another 6 to 12 people who will sit around and say whether or not you're guilty or not. So the grand jury, if you get indicted, it's not the end all, it's not the worst thing in the world. It just means that they're going to proceed to a trial. So the fact that they would not indict somebody, You know, that means they say, well, there's no evidence whatsoever. We don't give a shit. We're not going to do a trial. We're not even going to go through with that fucking bullshit. Who gives a shit? I don't give a fuck about dude. He got raped. He's from Pendleton County. I do know Steve Kellum. He's a fucking jailer. So who gives a shit? So that's you know, I would, in general, I think I would err on the side of going through with the trial. So if you don't know exactly what happened, then it can be unearthed. You know, there could be. That's sort of how our system works. So I feel like a trial, it would have been a good thing to do. But Kentucky did not indict these rapists. Steve Kellum, Steve Kellum gets away with all of this. You know, he's the one that's the leader. He's the jailer, so he's the one that sets the tone. He's the one that sets the culture. He's the one that hired all these fucking rapists. And you're going to tell me that this motherfucker didn't know about any of this shit that was happening? Bullshit. That's why when the media started calling him, he's like fucking, he doesn't pick up his phone no more, right? So that's important. That's Kentucky. In Kentucky, the grand jury is a big middle person to any type of felony that'll go through. They will determine whether or not a trial will happen or not. So if you want somebody to get, if there's a cover-up that happens, it'll be covered up in the grand jury. And that's what had happened. They had covered it up. So it's not the only case of deputy-abated jail rape. There's been more rape at Grant County Detention Center, GCDC, right? Just like CCDC, Carroll County Detention, GCDC, all these detention centers. And detention, that's like what, in school? 1 hour afterwards, right? To teach you a lesson. Well, in this detention center, the way they teach you a lesson is by raping the shit out of you. They rape the fuck out of you until you go unconscious. You wake up, say help, help, help. They'll stick their dicks in your mouth. That's what they do. That's the prison culture. That's the prison industry, and the police officers are the ones nabbing people and throwing them into these situations, and then they're getting raped inside. So the police officers are really just private prison industry or private prison system industry whores. That's what they do. They're private prison system industry whores. They work for the private prison industry and, help the prisons make more money, get more, court costs, get more fines. And, at no point does truth or justice ever come into, the play in this whole, unless there's a jury trial, right? Unless there's a jury trial. And every criminal with any matter that's over $20, you have a right to a jury trial. If the matter is over $20, you have a right to a jury trial. It's the 7th Amendment. Just a few months prior to the Valentine's Day episode, so just a few months before February 2003, deputies arranged for an inmate with a mental disability to experience prison rape. So he's mentally disabled. They're taking a mentally disabled person, and they lock him up with a federal prisoner serving a life sentence and claim falsely that the handicapped man had sexually molested a child. So that's perfect setup. Here's this mentally challenged person. He raped a kid, so do as you please to him. And the person who rapes probably knows that they're hurting somebody, but they think that they're hurting a bad person. So who gives a shit, right? So this could have led to a homicide, given that the child molesters are regularly beaten and killed behind bars. In this case, the victim was only raped and forced to perform oral sex on another prisoner. So they've done this before. We're going to teach you a lesson. Here, send them to this motherfucker. Now you're getting fucking butt raped, and and you know what? It's all internal. So you got video cameras that's inside, and you got all the prison guards. If when I got molested in the jail at Louisville, they touched my chode. I got sit in there. And I don't know who did it, and I don't have any evidence. And what can I do? I can try to request the tape of the time of when I went in there. That's when it happened, right? So I guess I could actually follow up with this instead of just kind of crying about it. So there is a tape of me, getting overly frisked, we could say. But really, the one guy was kind of like, like, ooh, touch his genitals, right? Touch. So, they indicated that. And so, it was intentional. It was intentional. They weren't looking for weapons. They didn't give a shit. They just want to harass me. And that's what the fuck these, white psychopaths do. These white criminal psychopaths are doing. There might be one good apple out there. There might be a Serpico, but I think the institutions will change you. You can't change the system from within. You have to... you'll become corrupted by trying to change the system from within. So, in this case, this mentally handicapped person only got raped, right? Only. He could have been killed and other worse things could have happened. The tax-fattened status at the brand new facility since it opened in 2000 received 50-bed upgrade last year, so they got more beds, right? Hey, good. Grant County's fucking kicking ass, right? Making tons of money, right? Private prison. They make money off this shit. In May 2003, 36-year-old Todd Cox, a prominent businessman from nearby Pendleton County. Again, Pendleton County. So Todd Cox, he is he got beat up. He's arrested. He's booked on the charge of driving while impaired. So he's drinking and driving. Should have been drinking and driving, right? But he didn't hurt nobody. And so there's no victim. They take him, they nab him, they arrest him, they throw him in jail, they imprison him, and they, you know, while he's being imprisoned, they had told him to take off his coat and his belt and to put it in a plastic bag, and he had took off his coat and belt and then he just put it on the floor, and that was the crime that set him off, right? And it takes the tiniest bit to set these psychopaths off. That one cop beat the shit out of that one kid just for telling him to shut up. With me, they said get the fuck out of the road, almost vehicular homicide, right? They tried to kill me with their car, and then when I didn't jump out the way, as soon as they, you know, almost hit me because I didn't see them, they say get the fuck out of the road, and then I'm kind of like, man, you know, fuck you, like who the fuck are you? What the fuck is, you know, that's bullshit. Try to run me over and you're going to pretend like it's my fault? You're doing a donut in the middle of the road, in the middle of an intersection, right? And a busy intersection. And you know, you're a fucking psycho that just likes to beat people up for no apparent reason. So that's the culture. That's the culture we live in. It's a militarized culture. In fact, you have Martin Luther King who said racism, militarism, and consumerism or materialism. Those are the three-headed beasts we've got to defeat. Racism, clearly wrong. Militarism, you know, we got ATF, Marines, Army, National Guard, Border Patrol, ATF, Homeland Security, I don't know, Navy, Air Force, you know, the National Guard, local police, local security guards, jailers, correctional officers, just going down the line, right? God, there's a military. We live in a police state, and fascism is very much a part of this country, very much accepted. People understand that there's bitches and there's bosses, and you either follow one or the other, right? You either do as you're told, or you're the fucking man. So let's carry on with Todd Cox. Todd Cox, he dropped his coat and belt on the floor, then in a plastic bag. He was attacked by several guards. They handcuffed him, dragged him out of range of the jail's video camera, knocked him off his feet, and repeatedly kicked him while he's face down on the concrete floor. I guess that's what they were doing to me. They had me down on the ground in Louisville jail, in the Jefferson County jail, where Adrian Reynolds was murdered. His head was stomped until he was dead. And there was actually one man that was in the holding cell while I was there who was just like beating the shit, just headbanging the fucking door of the wall, and just blood was all over the place, and we just had to sit there and just kind of fucking take it, you know. They locked him up. Humans desire freedom, and putting somebody behind bars is a punishment. You go stir crazy in there, you know. You start hitting your head against the fucking wall and bleeding all over the place just so somebody fucking notice you and maybe changes your circumstances. So, Todd Cox from Pendleton County, he's a 36-year-old man, May 2003, gets his fucking ass kicked by several guards. They handcuffed him, dragged him out of the jail's video. So they understand what they're doing. They understand that there's videos and shit, so they got to put on the illusion that there's justice that's going on when really there's absolutely no justice. It's anarchy. It's the wild, wild west. And, you know, they have the badge and under the guise of law. What's that guy who's getting raped supposed to do? Can he stand up for himself? Can he hit the prison guards? He's being gang raped. And with the jailers, if you were to hit them back, you get, you know, assault a police officer, 5 years in jail. I think we need to start being fair. You know, assault is wrong for a police officer and for a citizen. And murder is wrong for a police officer and a citizen. Rape is wrong for a police officer and a citizen. Justice is, you know, you can't have one person being allowed to rape and murder and kill and assault everybody, and then everybody else can't have that. You know, you have to be fair. And plus, I mean, like, I don't even know if people just like defend cops no matter what. If they find some inkling, some reason, you know, of a reason to hurt the person. I remember a Boone County cop was like, a mouth is a mouth is a mouth, and that stuck with me because what about freedom of speech? When that one kid said shut up, he got his ass kicked. Well, a mouth is a mouth is a mouth. You just want to respect the badge, respect me, but really a mouth is a mouth is freedom of speech, and that's law, and cops are supposed to enforce the law. So the videotape of the evidence, this gets to the Grant County jailer, Steve Kellum, and he was an asshole, so was his wife. The videotape of the incident, which was material evidence in both a civil action and a potential criminal case, was reviewed by Grant County jailer Steve Kellum. So, you know, they was like, oh, hey, this happens, and he looked at the video, and then all of a sudden, the video is gone. You know, exactly, of course. They're going to fucking delete the fucking videos. It's just the jailers inside of them. And what can you do then? There's no fucking evidence, right? Significantly, the county prosecutor reacted to Cox's allegations by dropping the driving case. Insisted that the beating Cox received was punishment enough. Well, that's fucked up. They're administering their own type of wild, wild west justice, you know, and it's bullshit.